everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive.
Yes, welcome back.
Today, we're tackling something I think we all struggle with sometimes. Getting to the point.
Yes.
We're taking a deep dive into this book, Shukak,
Okay.
or Speak to the Point in English.
All right.
A guide to clear and concise communication.
Interesting.
Have you ever, found yourself rambling in a presentation?
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you've been talking to somebody and you see their eyes kind of glazing over.
Oh, I've been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
This deep dive is all about how to avoid those situations.
Okay.
And make sure that your message is hitting the mark every time.
I like it. You know what's fascinating about this book is that it goes beyond just, be more concise or, just get to the point faster.
Yeah.
It really digs into the idea that clear communication is crucial for career success. It's not just about clarity, it's about actually, getting ahead.
Yeah. And the book actually states that the biggest reason for unrewarded talent is not a lack of money or connections, but an inability to communicate effectively.
Oh, that's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
Makes you wonder, how many brilliant ideas are out there and just get completely lost.
Lost in translation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because they couldn't communicate them.
Absolutely. And this actually kind of reminded me of all this talk about elevator pitches.
Yeah.
Especially in today's fast-paced world.
Right.
You think about Masayoshi Son,
Okay.
SoftBank CEO.
Yeah.
Famous 10-second rule.
10-second rule.
10 seconds, get your point across.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like...
I can barely order my coffee in 10 seconds. But seriously, though, that really highlights just how much shorter attention spans are getting.
Yeah.
With social media and...
Information overload.
Information overload everywhere we look.
It really is.
Almost like a superpower to be concise.
Absolutely. It's about respecting your audience's time.
Yeah.
Giving them the information they need quickly.
In a way that's memorable.
In a way that they can remember.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so we've established that being concise is important. Maybe even career-defining.
Yes.
But how do we actually do that?
Right.
Luckily, Speak to the Point gives us some pretty practical techniques that we can try out.
I like it.
One that I thought was really interesting was the 1-minute drill.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. So the 1-minute drill is an exercise that forces you to get to the heart of any message.
Okay.
It's deceptively simple.
Right.
You start by taking any piece of text you can imagine.
Okay.
Like an article, a report, or even an email.
All right.
And you use colored pens to highlight
the
key points, essential details, and anything you find interesting.
I like this already. I'm a big fan of color coding.
Yeah, me too.
So what's next?
All right, so then you set a timer for 1 minute, and you try to summarize the text out loud, focusing on the parts that you've highlighted.
So it's like a little mini elevator pitch.
Exactly.
I love that it incorporates actual speaking practice.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, summarizing in our heads is way easier than saying it out loud.
For sure.
And you know what I think would take it to the next level?
What's that?
Recording yourself. A little bit of accountability.
Yeah.
Allows you to listen back, identify any areas where you might have rambled.
That's such a good point.
Or kind of gotten lost.
It's like having a personal communication coach right in your pocket.
Yeah.
You can pinpoint your weaknesses and really refine how you deliver the information.
And the beauty of the 1-minute drill is that you can use it.
Yeah.
Not just for formal presentations.
Right.
You could use it for prepping for a team meeting. Summarizing a complex research paper for a friend or a colleague.
Yeah.
Or even just practicing telling a good story at a dinner party.
Absolutely.
The possibilities are endless.
The possibilities are endless as long as you have a minute.
Exactly.
You can practice being concise.
So the 1-minute drill is definitely going in my toolkit now.
Awesome.
But there was another technique that I thought was really, really interesting.
Okay.
It's called the river model.
Okay. Ooh.
Sounds almost poetic.
I like it.
So the river model is a powerful analogy that helps us visualize the communication process.
Okay.
So imagine that you and your listener are on opposite sides of a river.
All right.
This river represents the knowledge gap between the two of you.
Okay. I can see that.
So I'm on one side, I'm like the all-knowing expert
Right.
on this particular topic, and my listener is on the other side.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit lost.
Okay.
I'm familiar with what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And so as the speaker, your job is to place stepping stones in the river.
Ooh.
And these stepping stones are like the key concepts, the explanations, the pieces of information that you need to share to help your listener cross that river.
So you're guiding them across?
You're guiding them across, yes.
Step by step.
Step by step.
I love that.
It really is a powerful visual.
It reminds us that clear communication is not just about speaking concisely.
Yeah.
But it's also about creating a logical flow of information.
Yes.
Anticipating your listeners' needs and kind of building that bridge
yes.
of understanding one stepping stone at a time.
That's a great way to put it.
And when you think about those stepping stones, it forces you to ask yourself,
yeah.
What does my listener absolutely need to know to understand my message?
Exactly. It encourages you to prioritize the information.
Yeah.
And to ditch anything that might be extraneous or confusing.
It's like we're architects of communication.
I love it.
They're designing this clear, sturdy pathway
That's beautiful.
for our listeners to follow.
I love that.
So we've talked about the overall problem
of,
being too wordy and some general techniques.
Right.
But what about applying these techniques
Yeah.
to specific communication situations?
Right.
We all face those moments where clear and concise communication is absolutely essential.
Absolutely. And the book actually digs into 3 very common scenarios.
Okay.
Asking questions, presenting ideas, and making apologies.
We all do those things all the time.
All the time, yes.
Let's start with asking questions.
Okay.
I'm always really curious to hear how other people approach this.
Yeah.
What stood out to you about that section?
One thing that really resonated with me was the emphasis on asking concise and impactful questions.
Okay.
Imagine you're in a meeting with like a senior executive.
Right.
You have an opportunity to ask them a question.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste that precious time with a rambling, unclear question.
Yeah, I've definitely been in situations where I've overthought a question so much that it's almost like I end up giving a presentation instead of asking a question.
It happens.
Right.
But the good news is that Speak to the Point offers a simple but effective formula for crafting those killer questions.
All right, I'm all ears.
It comes down to 2 steps.
Okay, what's the first step?
The first step is setting the context.
Okay.
You briefly explain what you're referring to, so everyone's on the same page.
Okay.
For example, you could say something like, earlier you mentioned that project deadlines are shifting.
Right.
This made me wonder, ...
Okay, so you're providing a little mini summary.
Exactly.
That leads into your question.
Exactly.
Make sure everyone's following along.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about the second step?
The second step is where you deliver the knockout punch.
Okay.
Your key question.
Right.
And you want to do it all within 10 seconds.
10 seconds, that's even shorter than Masayoshi-san's elevator pitch.
It is.
But I can see how it forces you to really cut to the chase.
Exactly.
Articulate your question in the most direct way possible.
Exactly. And it not only makes your question clear and memorable, but it also shows respect for everyone's time and attention span.
Yeah.
Being mindful of the context and making every word count.
And I love how versatile that is.
Yeah.
Whether you're in a formal meeting, attending a conference, or even just having a casual conversation, with friends, asking well-crafted questions can lead to a lot deeper understanding.
For sure.
And just more engaging interactions.
Absolutely.
But I know sometimes I personally feel a little intimidated to ask questions, especially on the spot.
Yeah.
So what about those people who maybe get a little nervous?
So for those who feel intimidated or nervous about asking questions on the spot,
the
book offers a great tip.
Okay.
Prepare a list of questions.
Oh, that's so smart.
In advance.
That takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Of having to come up with something brilliant.
Yeah.
Right there on the spot.
And it shows that you've done your homework.
Yeah.
You're genuinely engaged in the topic.
Yeah, you've put in the effort.
Exactly.
Okay, asking concise and impactful questions is definitely something I'm going to be working on.
Yeah.
But what about presenting ideas? What strategies does the book recommend?
So for presenting ideas, Speak to the Point introduces a technique called the side-by-side approach.
Okay.
And it kind of challenges this traditional notion of sitting face-to-face when you present an idea.
Okay.
And instead suggests a more collaborative approach.
Wait a minute, I remember this.
Yeah.
It's called gurel.
That's right.
In the original text.
Yes.
So instead of sitting across from the person, you're presenting to hiro, you sit beside them.
You sit beside them.
Okay.
And what this does is it creates this feeling from the very beginning that you're on the same team.
Oh, I like it.
You're tackling this problem or idea together.
It's not me versus you.
Exactly.
It's us working together.
Exactly.
And it gets even more interesting.
It does. So the book suggests that you actually write your proposal or idea down on a piece of paper while you're explaining it.
So you're both looking at the same thing.
You're both literally looking at the same thing.
So you're creating a visual roadmap of your thoughts together.
Yes. And it encourages active listening and participation.
Yeah.
So as you're writing and explaining, the other person can follow along, ask questions, provide input in real time.
I love that.
It transforms a presentation from a one-way lecture into a dynamic exchange of ideas.
It really breaks down those barriers.
Absolutely.
Fosters that sense of partnership.
Yes.
I love it.
And in terms of like the actual content of what you're writing, the book recommends a really clear and concise structure. You start by stating your objective. Then you outline your methods. And then finally you support your points with data or evidence.
So you're stating the why, you're explaining the how.
Exactly.
And then you're backing it all up.
Yes.
With data and evidence.
That adds a layer of credibility and persuasiveness.
It shows that you've put thought into it.
Exactly. It shows that this isn't just a fleeting thought. It's a well-founded idea.
This is great. I'm already starting to see how these techniques can be applied to so many areas of life.
Me too.
But there's one more scenario we need to cover. Apologies. We all mess up sometimes.
We do.
So knowing how to apologize effectively is really important.
It is.
What insights did the book have?
It's interesting the book approaches apologies from a very strategic perspective, especially in business contexts. And it contrasts ineffective apologies with a more effective three-step approach that can really help rebuild trust. Salvage relationships.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break this down. What's the first step to crafting a really good apology?
The first step is to acknowledge your mistake clearly and directly. No beating around the bush. No trying to shift the blame.
You own it.
You own it. You express genuine remorse for any harm caused.
Then what's the next step?
The second step is all about providing a solution.
So don't just dwell on the mistake. Show that you've thought about how to fix the situation and prevent it from happening again.
So you're taking action.
You're taking concrete steps to show that you're committed to making things right.
It shows you're not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
You're actually going to walk the walk.
Exactly.
But what about the third step?
The third step gets a little bit more nuanced. And this is especially relevant for business contexts. It's about considering the balance of interests.
I'm curious, what does that mean?
So, in a business setting, an apology can sometimes open the door.
To what?
To demands or concessions that might not be in your best interest. So, the book cautions against immediately accepting full blame. Without carefully considering the situation and all of the potential consequences.
So it's not about shirking responsibility. It's about being smart.
It's about being strategic.
And making sure that everything is fair and equitable for both sides. Exactly. It's about navigating those tricky situations with grace and professionalism.
This has been a fascinating discussion.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that concise communication isn't just about, saving time or sounding more professional. It's about respect. It's about clarity. It's about building stronger relationships.
It's about being our best selves in every interaction.
And as we go deeper, I think we're going to see even more evidence.
I think so too.
To support that.
Absolutely.
It's about understanding our words and their impact on others.
It is.
It's like we're unlocking some kind of secret code to better communication.
I like that.
But let's take a little break.
Oh.
Come back, refreshed and ready to dive even deeper.
Sounds great.
Into these fascinating communication scenarios.
I'm ready.
We'll be right back. Welcome back.
Back again.
You know what? I'm already feeling more confident about my communication skills just by talking about this.
I know, me too.
It's amazing how a few simple shifts can make such a big difference.
Yeah, sometimes all it takes is a little nudge in the right direction to unlock our potential.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
That's what we're doing.
Give you the tools and insights to communicate more effectively.
In all areas of life.
In every area of your life.
That's right.
So before the break, we were talking about how these principles apply to specific scenarios. Like asking questions, presenting ideas, and making apologies.
Exactly.
Let's dive back into those.
Let's do it.
We were just getting started on apologies. And I'm really curious to hear more about this three-step approach.
Yes.
Can you give us some examples of what not to do when we need to apologize?
So sometimes, our instincts kind of lead us astray when it comes to apologies.
In what way?
We might try to soften the blow
Well,
or avoid taking full responsibility.
hmm.
But those tactics can often backfire.
Yeah. How?
For instance, saying something like, "I'm sorry if my actions made you uncomfortable,"
Okay.
doesn't actually acknowledge any wrongdoing.
It's kind of putting the burden on the other person.
Yeah, you're basically apologizing for their reaction rather than your own actions.
Yeah, which could actually make them feel worse.
Exactly. A really effective apology focuses on the impact of your actions,
All right.
not on how the other person perceived them.
Got it.
It's about expressing remorse and acknowledging the consequences of your actions.
Okay, so that's acknowledging our mistakes sincerely.
Yes.
What about the second step? Providing a solution.
Yes, it's about showing that you're not just offering empty words,
Right.
but that you're actually taking concrete steps.
To fix it.
To fix it.
Yeah.
So, for example, instead of just saying, "I'm sorry I missed the deadline," you could say, "I'm sorry I missed the deadline to prevent this from happening again. I've implemented a new time management system, and I've blocked off time in my calendar to focus on this project."
So you're showing that you're being proactive.
Exactly. You're not just dwelling on the past, but you're taking steps to ensure a better outcome in the future.
Love it. Okay, what about the third step?
The third step.
Considering the balance of interests.
Especially relevant in professional settings.
Okay.
So in a business context, an apology can sometimes be seen as an admission of guilt.
Oh.
Which could potentially open you up to, unreasonable demands or concessions.
I see.
So the book advises against immediately accepting full blame without carefully considering the situation.
It's like a negotiation in a way.
Yeah. You need to be assertive and protect your own interests while also taking responsibility for your actions.
Finding that balance.
Exactly.
It sounds like it takes a lot of practice.
It does. It takes practice, and it takes a willingness to be honest with yourself and others.
Yeah.
But when you can find that sweet spot, it can really make all the difference.
This is fascinating.
It is.
There's so much depth.
So much depth.
To even just an apology.
Absolutely.
It's not just saying I'm sorry.
It's
about understanding these nuances of communication.
It's about being thoughtful. It's about being respectful.
Yeah.
And it's about being strategic in our interactions.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about asking questions.
Yes.
Remember crafting those impactful questions in under 10 seconds.
10 seconds or less.
That's a skill.
It is a crucial skill to master.
Especially now.
Especially today.
So how do we make those precious seconds count?
All right, so the first step is to set the context.
Okay.
Briefly mention what you're referring to or the topic you want to discuss.
Yep.
For example, you could say, "I was really intrigued by your comment about the future of artificial intelligence. It made me wonder."
So you're creating a bridge.
Exactly.
Between what was said and what you're about to ask.
You got it.
Perfect. Okay. And then the second step.
Second step is where you deliver your key question.
Concisely.
Concisely and clearly.
Under 10 seconds.
Under 10 seconds, that's right.
10 seconds. I feel like I need 10 seconds just to think of the question.
I know it is a challenge.
But it makes it so effective.
It does.
Because it forces you to really pare it down.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah.
There's no room for fluff.
And it shows respect.
It does.
To the other person's time.
And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes.
Yeah.
You'll start to internalize that 10-second rule and just naturally phrase things in a more concise way.
Okay, but what about when our minds go blank?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine trying to come up with something.
Yeah. So for those situations, the book offers a great tip.
What's that?
Prepare a list.
A list?
Of questions in advance.
That takes the pressure off.
It does.
And it shows that you've done your homework.
Exactly.
That you're prepared and you actually care.
You're engaged. You're interested.
Speaking of making a good impression, let's talk about presenting ideas.
All right.
Which we all do.
All the time. Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear more about this side-by-side technique.
Yeah, side by side, it challenges that traditional presenter versus audience dynamic.
Yeah.
And creates a much more collaborative and engaging experience.
So you're sitting next to them.
You're sitting right next to them.
Not across from them.
That's right.
And inviting them along on a journey.
Yes.
And you're writing it down as you're explaining it.
As you're explaining it.
So they can literally see your thought process.
That's right. That's so cool.
It turns an abstract idea into a concrete roadmap. That you can both explore together.
I love that.
And they can ask questions, they can give input,
they
can add their own thoughts.
I love that. But wouldn't that be a bit chaotic?
It can be.
In a more formal setting.
It can be. So it's not suitable for every presentation.
Okay.
But the principles of collaboration and clarity and visual aids can still be applied.
So you might use a whiteboard.
Right.
Instead of a piece of paper.
Or a projector. Or a shared digital document.
Yeah, adapt it to the situation.
Adapt it.
I like it. And it's crucial to structure your presentation in a clear and concise way.
Okay.
So the book recommends this framework.
Yeah.
You state your objective.
Okay.
You outline your methods. And you support your points with data or evidence.
It's so logical.
It is.
You state your goal, you explain how you're going to get there, and then you back it all up.
Exactly.
Building a case.
Building a case brick by brick.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a reminder that effective communication isn't just about being charming or charismatic.
Right.
It's about clear thinking, strategic planning, and persuasive delivery.
Well, this has been an incredibly enlightening conversation.
It has.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to discuss.
I'm so eager to hear your thoughts on how these principles can be applied in a broader context.
I agree. There's so much more to unpack, and that's what we'll be doing in part 3.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring the bigger picture of concise communication, connecting these techniques to the realities of our busy world.
Can't wait.
But for now, let's give our listeners a chance to digest all this valuable information.
Take a little break.
Yes.
We'll be right back with the final part.
That's right.
Of our deep dive into concise communication.
Stay tuned.
All right, we are back for the final part.
Part 3.
Of our deep dive into concise communication.
I'm excited.
Me too. It's been a really great conversation so far.
It has.
I feel like I've already learned so much.
Me too.
But there's one more thing that I wanted to touch on.
All right.
And it kind of connects back to something we talked about earlier.
Okay.
This whole idea of the elevator pitch. You know that you only have a tiny window to make an impression.
Absolutely. The 10-second rule.
10 seconds.
Masayoshi-san.
Exactly.
It really highlighted the urgency of concise communication.
But you know what? I think that principle is actually becoming more and more relevant.
I agree.
In pretty much every aspect of our lives.
I think so too.
Not just those like formal presentations or business meetings.
It's everywhere.
I mean, think about it. We are constantly bombarded with information these days.
Information overload.
Social media news feeds emails.
It's a lot.
It's like we're drowning in words.
And as a result, attention spans are shrinking.
Yeah, it's not just about being concise in those high-stakes situations anymore. It's about applying that principle.
To every.
Like a quick text message to a friend. A social media post.
It's true.
Even just a casual conversation.
I think we're all becoming little mini marketers.
Competing for attention.
That's a good way to put it.
We're scrolling through our social media feeds. And you see all these posts just flying by.
Which ones are you going to stop and read?
The ones that are short, snappy.
Get to the point.
Get to the point.
Exactly.
Respecting our time. Understanding that every word counts.
I think it's almost like we're all living in this perpetual elevator pitch mode.
We have to constantly be refining our message.
Absolutely.
And in a world where everybody's trying to be heard, the ability to communicate concisely. That could be what helps you stand out.
It's about cutting through the noise.
Yeah.
And making a lasting impact.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation for me.
Me too.
I feel like this deep dive has really given me a new perspective on the importance of this.
It's essential.
So, as we wrap up,
yes,
think about all the techniques we talked about.
Absolutely.
And how you can use them in your own life.
In your work life, your personal life.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Give the 1-minute drill a try.
Yes.
Visualize that river model.
I love that.
See if you can come up with a 10-second pitch.
10-second pitch.
For your next big idea.
I like it.
You might be surprised at the impact that it has.
On your life.
And remember speaking concisely. It's not about being rude or dismissive.
No, it's not.
It's about respecting the other person.
Showing respect.
Valuing their time.
Making sure that your message makes an impact.
So the next time you find yourself rambling, take a deep breath. Remember, Masayoshi-san.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Get to the point.
Get to the point. Your audience will thank you for it.
I agree.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you all today.
Likewise.
And until next time, keep diving deep into the world of knowledge and discovery. See you soon.